Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to give it just a couple of minutes to let everyone jump in, and then we'll get started.
Thanks for the bio, the background, Brett. For all of our attendees online, Brett has put his background here in the chat for everyone to see. Right, Lisa, you about ready?
I'm ready. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Future Focus Friday, AI in the water industry. Today we have with us Brett Butts, who is the Rural Assistance Coordinator for the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services. Brett is a licensed water treatment, distribution, and wastewater operator, as well as a licensed attorney. He leads statewide efforts to modernize rural utility operations through advanced AI integration and regulatory innovation. He spearheads South Carolina operator readiness and workforce onboarding initiatives under the National Science Foundation funded research project, focusing on predictive analytics, I've lost my spot, analytics, digital permitting, and expert systems development. He's also supporting the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services implementation of Permit Pro, a regulatory automation tool now entering pilot deployment. His work blends frontline utility experience, legal experience, and next generation machine learning tools to address the nation's growing infrastructure and workforce challenges, particularly in small systems facing aging assets, regulatory burden, and staffing shortages. So if you can't tell from that, we have a true expert with us today, and we are excited to learn more about the career opportunities in this exciting, growing field. Brett, we're going to let you take it away.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. I would have made that way more abbreviated if I knew you were going to have to power through it, but great job. Thank you, everybody. And just on the front end, as I set us up, could you confirm, thumbs up, that you can see my shared screen? Good, thank you very much. All right. Good morning, all, and welcome. If you are here live, I appreciate it. I hope we can have some kind of dynamic conversations through this. It's not just a static presentation. And if you're seeing it on a recording, I hope this connects, and that if you care about where you live and your communities and the future of our state, then I hope this conversation can connect with you and start to highlight the opportunities that folks in this field could experience and the utility of really driving people into this sector. So thank you all. The title of what I've come up with today is AI Careers in the Future of the Water Industry. And really what I want to focus on today is that water operations are going to become more critical than you even realize. Today, when you turn on your kitchen sink or your bathroom faucet, you have an implicit trust that what you're being served is good and safe for you. And you know when it's not because you get those wonderful boil order warnings. And those inconveniences are really going to become realities if we don't start to drive young people into this sector. And I'm going to highlight why that's necessary. The coming need for more and more water utility operators, leadership, managers, communicators, up and down the chain in the industry. We really need a huge expansion of services. So I'll run through where that's going to be driven from, what's causing the drive, risks associated if we don't get people in this industry, and then where you as people who are working with young people, as you see what their skills are and the things they might be interested in, I want to try to give you a list of different roles in our sector that you could maybe slot somebody into as a way to explore a future job opportunity. I hope that sounds good. So again, this is our overall agenda. We're going to talk about why water is needed now, the AI boom, which is driving not only how we do operations, but the need to do more operations. STEM pathways, obviously money is everything. So we'll talk about salaries, and then we'll hopefully have a little bit of time for a discussion. Quickly about our office. What you see here are images of Flint, Michigan. And if you hear Flint, Michigan, you're probably thinking about water. And that's because they had a problem in 2016 where they changed their sources and through improper treatment, really exposed a lot of their community to high lead levels, which can cause birth defects. It can cause neurological disorders, and it's a really bad thing. So our office is from the effects of that. Our legislature in South Carolina had the foresight and wisdom to create a technical assistance group within the agency. So the Department of Environmental Services is responsible for overseeing the operations, the regulatory requirements, but within the agency is our little office, which we go out and we try to help prevent another Flint, Michigan. Excuse me. And so what we do is we work hand in hand across the state. There's several of us in the department, and within our office, we go around and we try to help small systems, whether it's the mayors, the operators, maybe even some community members who are having problems. We try to help them get their situation straightened out. And we work with many, many partners, state partners, federal, local communities, councils of governments, small businesses even. All of these people are under our umbrella to try to make our communities better. And what we're seeing is that there is a massive need already in the water sector for more people, but really there is going to be a huge driven demand. And the first thing I want to talk about is our current state and why bringing people into this industry is going to rebuild the backbone of our communities. So Midlands all the way out. The cost for a system for a municipality to provide water is expensive. Pumps, chemicals, treatment, paperwork, staffing costs, all of these cost a lot of time and money. And a lot of our systems have very old equipment. The useful life of most pieces of equipment are about 50 years when you're thinking about pipes under the ground. And the average age of our equipment is around 70 years old. So we are running past where we already should be with a lot of our systems. Then in order to run these systems, you have to have a certified operator, which is an individual who gets a certified license through an examination process that only they are allowed to operate these systems because they're so critical to public health. Fortunately, 30 to 50% of people who run these systems are at or near retirement age. And I'm talking not in 5 years from now. Today, 30 to 50% of all operators nationwide are at or near retirement age. What you see in the graph to the right side of the screen is a needs survey. So in 2022, the South Carolina Rural Water Association conducted a survey against all water utilities in the state. And based on their findings, they found that we are going to have a 70% vacancy rate by 2030 in the state. If we don't do something soon, what you're going to have is many systems who cannot find people to run their systems, which means they're going to have to hire outside contractors, which is going to drive up costs even more. which goes to this last point on this slide. This is a one-to-one feedback loop. What you pay at your town is what the town has as a budget to pay for the system operations. If you have a low water bill, it's very convenient for your monthly budget, but it's really inconvenient for your water system. If this water system in your town is not charging a sufficient rate to not only pay for the ongoing operation, but the replacement of all these old infrastructures, equipments, chemicals, if they don't make upgrades, then you're going to see very quickly a sudden spike because things will fail and you'll have to have the rate increase in order to support the system. So that's the baseline. That's today. And it's about to get worse. Over the next 20 years, the EPA is estimating that each state is going to need $625 billion in order to invest in new infrastructure to send water to communities, to treat the incoming water, to store the water in your storage tanks, in order to keep the sources, your rivers and lakes clean, and then all the other associated factors with treating and maintaining water systems. And the real problem is none of this is visible, right? You don't think about the lines that are underneath the ground because you never see them unless it comes to call. And when it does fail, then you have impacts on schools and homes and hospitals. All of your infrastructure, if you don't have water, your community is in trouble. And we don't have people showing up. So not only are we 30 to 50% available for retirement today, and we're going to see it even worse in 5 years, nobody is entering this workforce. The current entrance rate is about 10%. 10% of the workforce is under 23 years old. That is unsustainable for our future. Part of the reason of that is that salaries don't match the demands in order to get people into the field. Why do salaries not match the demands? Because the municipalities don't have the funding through their bills and rate structures to pay for higher qualified or better paying jobs. And if you really start to look into the numbers, you're looking at $1.2 trillion are going to be needed in order to support the growth across the country by 2045. If we don't start to address this at a community level, then it is our community, our children, our children's children, and our entire future that are going to be at risk. Once water fails, everything else will start to fail behind it. Now let's talk about the AI boom. I want to give you all an idea of what artificial intelligence kind of generally is. And I want to start that by a discussion of how I view artificial intelligence. And so I hope this is functional and crosses over to you all. When I think of artificial intelligence, it's really from an operational standpoint. I want artificial intelligence for me to be a software, and I want it to improve either my operational efficiency, the financial sustainability of the system that I need it for, and I want it to boost my by analyzing all these different data points and bringing them together. I want it to do it accurately. Ideally, for me, artificial intelligence is a tool that does tasks that I wish I could outsource, and it would do of me having to burn out trying to do it. The best example for my artificial intelligence is like QuickBooks. I hate doing taxes, but if I use QuickBooks, I just load all of my documents and need to press the easy button to send off my taxes. In the same way, that's what I want you all to conceptualize as for the purposes of conversation, right? I'm not talking about humanoid robots that are stacking papers. I'm talking about functional software that we can use today that improves a process. That process can be treating water. It could be lab operations. It could be through your school system and trying to pull together grade reports and academic analyses, personality tests, right? And trying to fit students into what maybe sector or career path is best for them. That's what artificial intelligence should be, okay? So with that baseline, there's really two types of artificial intelligence on the market that fit this category. The first type is what most people are familiar with. There's these large language models. And this is where it uses these neural networks to predict the next word that it thinks should logically flow. It uses historic conversations online to train itself on how people speak, it uses your past conversations with the software to get your tone, style, kind of method of communicating. And then it also can use different source material to kind of highlight the area and domain that you need specifically. So it analyzes all of these patterns together, it predicts the next word, and then it gives you an output. Think of this like your Siri. If you have people who are really creative, they're curious, they want to explore ideas, topics, they're really, LLMs are a great sandbox for people who are like that, especially young people. If you give them a tool that allows them to communicate different ideas, and maybe they have an idea, but they don't know how to communicate with it, these types of tools are analyzing what they're saying, why they're saying it, and could try to help them articulate the idea that they're getting out. And then the curiosity and creativity can spawn from that. If you have a really good verbal command of language, if you have a strong grasp, and you can do some analytical thinking, then these are prompt engineering students for the future, right? And prompt engineering is going to be super important in artificial intelligence, because we're in a world now where answers are free. You don't know if those answers are correct or not, but the answer is free. So the most important thing now is not the answer, it's the question. And when it comes to using artificial intelligence, how you question the software is called a prompt. And a prompt engineer, the expert question askers, they are going to really, really soar in this field. On the right here are different applications of artificial intelligence that are out there. Just a little quiz if you were in the field wondering what some of these are. Here they are. They're all pretty good. Then there's a different type of artificial intelligence that is going to be more attractive to a different mode of learner, maybe a different type of thinker. And this is machine learning artificial intelligence. And this is much more data-driven. And instead of thinking about words and the next logical conclusion in a statement, this is driven by data points and data analysis. And it looks at all kinds of disparate factors together and pulls them together and tries to make either predictive insights or best guesses, as well as it can, into what is going on with this particular data set. And so it uses past information to inform future predictions. In the same way that you may have a Nest at home and you program your thermostat every day when you leave the office to turn your AC to 70 degrees, it now will learn what that pattern is and predict that between Monday through Friday, if your phone leaves your house, you're likely going to the office. And when you leave the office, you are likely going to want your thermostat turned down. So it uses a machine learning model to forecast when to turn down your AC, right? The types of learners that fit into this field and people who are doing AI work in machine learning, they're highly analytical. They're super statistically focused, numbers-based. They love either specified data sets or disparate data sets. They're problem-solving, critical thinkers. And you want people who are really highly skeptical in this field, because you always need to challenge what the output of artificial intelligence is. So that's kind of a perfect marriage if you have anybody that you know who fits that kind of role. Specifically in the water industry, I want to talk about some of the different ways in which AI and machine learning works, and then how, if you have a student that is interested in maybe AI and the environment, different applications directly, so that they can understand maybe through examples what the capabilities are. So if you're doing water treatment, what you want to know is how much water you're going to have to treat tomorrow, right? So you can predict how much demand you have tomorrow. These types of machine learning models can predict pump settings that you need to change in order to make sure that the water is clean and safe. It can identify if you have a risk of a major pipe breaker, if a fire hydrant is going to shake and blow out like in the classic cartoons. It can look at your existing equipment. If you have people who love pumps and motors and fixing bicycles and dirt bikes, right? You can use machine learning models to actually analyze equipment and see what's not working so great. Where's this going to fail? Machine learning models, if you have people who love video analysis or creating videos, there's a ton of video use and camera equipment deployed in water and wastewater operations, where using machine learning to analyze that video is becoming a a bigger and bigger value add. And then also just machine learning abilities to fill out different reports. Here's some examples of two local companies that are using machine learning: Aquaspec from Delta Bravo out of Fort Mill, South Carolina, Blue Green Services. They have a wastewater operating system out of Chapin, I believe. And then Pipe Insights by AECom is one of those groups that are using video analysis and machine learning models. Conversely, if you're using those LLMs, the tools for the front office where you have to have that higher verbal fluency, you can have permit and compliance support for those types of roles. You can have SOP generation if you have people who are more operationally focused. If you have people who are want to be firefighters or emergency responders, right? That's where these tools fit into their workflow. It helps them understand, what is the plan here? How do I need to go about helping and deploying our emergency response plan? If you have people who are financially focused, you have different budget documents, you have capital planning, asset management planning, funding opportunities, grant writing, all of those things fit into the water sector and are AI tools that are used in the water sector for that role. If you have people who like to do public communications and are maybe kind of that looking forward to the traditional news role, right? Journalism maybe focus. People who want to be writers and get out in front and talk to people. There's a huge need and a great practice ground for people in water and wastewater utilities to really get their chops of public communication. I saw Jason Fell was on the call. I'm sure he could attest to this. There are usually not public communication specialists in water and wastewater systems. However, the time when water and wastewater systems need a communication specialist are when things are going wrong, and you could use that smooth touch to communicate what's happening from the water system side, how it impacts the public, and what the public needs to do maybe to keep themselves safe. If you have young people, I mean, I'm thinking even high schoolers that wanted to come and do internships and maybe practice doing public communications, reach out to a water system, because it's an awesome low stakes. It's a low stakes environment because you're never going to throw somebody out to the wolves day one, but it's an opportunity where they're going to have a lot of chances to practice that skill set. And then if you have people who are maybe educators or trainers, they can use these tools in their training process and ask questions that maybe somebody doesn't know the answer to. All of this background, all of this communication about why water is important, why it's important to think about how short of a workforce shortage we're facing, and why we're in such a hidden issue, comes back to why water is so important. And it's because water is the absolute universal input. It's a universal input for food production, obviously water production. Manufacturing production needs water. And really AI, which this administration and it seems like the entire economy is now building itself on, requires massive amounts of water. In the production side, there's a semiconductor plant in Taiwan that is using 750 million gallons of water a day to make chips, the computer chips for AI production. In the US, our plants are averaging 8 to 15 million gallons of water a day in order to get ultra pure water needed to fabricate these semiconductors. This is a massive, massive need that is going to have to come out of our ground to produce these chips. Then once you have these chips in production, in order to run the data centers that are coming everywhere across the country, there is a huge energy demand. And in order to create clean energy, you need water in order to cool either the energy producing towers or the AI data center itself uses water to cool all of the servers so that things don't catch on fire. Just a manufacturing facility uses 10 million gallons a day. That's 33,000 households worth of water. And I will hedge this image by saying that it came from our friends at the World Economic Forum who definitely are looking out for us. But this is a massive, massive need that's coming. And I think this chart in this image here really highlights how impactful this is and how few people know about it. So what you're looking at is the total consumption of electricity in the entire state of the identified chart and the percentage share that is just from data centers over time. So in Virginia in 2010, less than 5% of all energy use in the state was on data centers. As of October 1st of this year, so literally, was that 30 days ago or 40 days ago, 40% of Virginia's energy use is a result of data centers. In August, as of September 1st, 2025, no state had more than 30% of its energy use associated to data centers. As of October 1st, it was 2 states. And I saw yesterday, as of November 1st, 8 states have over 30% of their energy use coming from data centers, right? I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but I'm saying the impact of this is a massive water demand that is currently being met, but will soon not be. There are risks with this, obviously. Consumption of water is going to continue to increase. There are situations now in Georgia even where the data center's water use is so significant that it's impacting nearby aquifers. There's an $80 million waste going in Memphis that is being fought against by local communities because it is going to be so massive that there's concerns about the impacts of the water and the air in the nearby area. And even though that water purification and recharging, the ability to use the water and send it right back in a net zero way, even though that technology is increasing, it's still not perfected. However, and so I want now to try to think about what educators and career specialists, or even if you're a young person thinking about this, what can you do to help us? Because AI is not going anywhere. It can't. Our economy is now predicated on it. The stock market is entirely built upon AI and chip companies. Our entire internal infrastructure nationwide is being revamped to support AI data centers. We're having new pushes for nuclear energy in order to support these data centers, and they are popping up everywhere. And there is a massive, massive demand and impact that is already here, and it's not going anywhere. So we can either fight against it, or we can accept it and try to make things as good as we can and try to drive people towards a better future for all of us. So here's what I'm proposing. If you were looking at students and you were trying to see where could I fit someone, a young person, into this field, obviously we need operators. That is going to be the central thing that is coming right away. There will be instant job market availability and access for them. You do not have to have a college degree in order to be a water or wastewater operator. You can come out with a high school degree. You can get go into some different programs that are out there, apprenticeships that get you a license within 2 years. There's pre-apprenticeship programs that are available through the South Carolina Rural Water Association, where if you're in high school, you can get real world experience, practical experience in high school in a system, and you can learn about what it's like to be an operator now. If you have people that are maybe not looking at that track, they're maybe looking to go to college, or they're wanting to get into a different type of field, we have jobs everywhere in this industry. We have engineers, we have structural engineers, we have architects, we have environmental engineers, we have chemical engineers. All of those fields touch water and wastewater. We have lab analysts. And one second. And if any questions are coming up, please interrupt me and fire away. Oops, I'm gonna go back. We have lab analysts. So we have people that need to collect samples. We need people that need to analyze sample. We need people that are researching new contaminants that are out there. Everybody's heard about PFAS lately and the threats associated with that contaminant. We need people that are researching these different contaminants. We need finance people and accountants. We need people that can help develop budgets, that can perform audits, help not only a utility and a water system operate under an effective budget, but in a municipal level, help these towns look at how their utilities are operating, how their police are operating, how the overall structure of the community is, and try to get communities into a place where they have a budget surplus and can try to support some growth in the local areas. In the policy creation and legal affairs, environmental protection has been around for over 50 years, and it's important and it's critical. And we need young people to think about how new technologies are going to impact our communities, and to be thinking about how to create rules and regulations that protect our communities, but also don't stifle the industry from moving forward and keeping people safe quickly. Like I mentioned, we need emergency responders. Hurricane Helene, still feeling the effects of that. In water operations, there were communities in North Carolina that didn't have water for over 40 days afterwards. So it's not just the immediate driving around and responding and getting people out of flood situations, or cutting down the trees that are on the electric wires. You need people to come in and help do emergency response. And a brief moment about that to comment is, if you have an emergency response skill set as a water operator, there are many, many nonprofit organizations out there that need volunteers and operators to go to disaster areas when it happens. A group like Operators Without Borders is a national nonprofit where what just happened in, was it the Dominican that had the huge hurricane? They're going down there and just helping people. So if you have people that are really service and community and driven towards helping people, this field becomes a way and a pathway to go be of service to others in other communities as well. So it's not just helping your local community. You can go and do missionary work that is absolutely critical. We need business managers, right? It's hard to operate these systems. You have to think about not just how many dollars you have, but what about the rate setting? Are we in a position where our utility is financially sustainable? Government affairs, communicating with legislators, right? Or legislators themselves. If you have people who are looking at a political career or track, those folks need to remember that their communities that they represent need these services. The infrastructure under the ground in the place that you represent is as important as any other matter that you think our government tax dollars should go to. Globally, we need human resource specialists. We need people that are looking out, that are promoting a good, safe workspace that makes everyone understood that we are trying to find talented people. We don't care about creed, color, ethnicity, race, religion. We need good people who care about the environment and their communities to come into this field, and we will find a spot for your skill set. And making sure that everyone is working in a place where that is felt and understood is important in the water sector. And then obviously your day-to-day people, right? The water and wastewater systems serve a community by definition. They are limited in the reach that they have because they can only reach to the areas where they have pipes under the ground. So working directly with your customer base is really the most important thing you can do, because those are the people that you're serving through your job. And I also want to highlight to you all the benefits of working in this industry, right? One, you have a stable job. We need water. It's not going away. It is a massive service. You will always have a job. In fact, if you circle back to the workforce shortage, the reason that I think we have such a high potential vacancy rate, 30 to 50% could retire today, but they haven't, is because they like their job. It's a really good job. It's local. You can really stay engaged with your community. And it is so essential that it brings a feeling of gratitude and purpose, right? It's a modestly stressful job. There are times when the job is hectic, where you're out at 3:30 in the morning, digging up a hydrant in the snow. I've been there. There's times when it's stressful, but it's also deeply rewarding to be in this field. And if you're at a local level, your salary might be modest, but You have great flexibility. The people you work with are usually super great. A lot of people go into town halls, but they don't ever go to the utilities department. I bet if you walked into your utility department locally and just said, hey to the secretary and good job, she'd come out from behind the desk and give you a hug. Because the people in this industry are genuinely great people by and large. If you want to be a local person, you can work locally. If you want to have a national impact, there are huge career potentials to absolutely expand your reach, travel around, look at different systems, consult, do engineering, be the politician that focuses on national water initiatives. There's advancement everywhere. And we know that not only because of the upcoming workforce shortage, but also because of that growth that we know is coming. There's going to be huge opportunities for consequential jobs up and down the industry, all across the different sectors that are involved with it. And like I said, there's a stewardship component. And I like to think of all of us as stewards that are in this industry, because we do this not for the money. There's more money elsewhere, but we do it because we care about the community, we care about the environment, and we know that what we do matters, and we feel it daily. So it's a good way to stay grounded too. Specific tracks. So this is not my specialty. I did use some AI for this, but if this is helpful to you, I wanted to really look at specific job roles and job titles that you could say, or maybe show to a student that says, look, you were interested in this specific sector. Maybe this is a job that you could be interested in. And I'll share all these slides later. I think we're recording, so you can have a chance to come back and circle back to it. But this is all really, really consequential, high need jobs that will be available if your students want to get there. All right. And then I did want to touch specifically STEM roles, because those are an area where I believe we need the biggest. We have two primary needs in this sector, right? One is the operators. Those can be STEM specific fields, but often they are more of the mechanical hands-on type roles, right? Awesome if you get a STEM student that's interested in operations, because they really drive the innovation in the direction of future operations. But it's hard to get those folks straight into operations because they're usually college bound. And so for your college-based students who are kind of committed to wanting to go that track, here's some different roles and college tracks that you could fit them into, or maybe encourage them towards as they think about jobs in this field. And then I also need to talk about the money, right? If you are trying to push kids into this role, the biggest question is always going to be, how much am I going to get paid, right? What's it worth? And so here's some general numbers that, based on what you're doing, is kind of a range of what you can expect your salary to be. Obviously, a rural salary, if you go to a rural community, is going to be lower than the bigger governments, because that one-to-one feedback loop of number of customers paying to the system provides the budget that they have to pay people. That comes into play here. If you have a private industry, private consultant, advanced degrees, obviously, like any other industry, you're going to have a salary increase. And I want to note, though, and I don't think people appreciate this when they see base salaries. When you become an operator, you have a chance and a responsibility to be on call. And on-call and overtime pay can be really a significant source of income. So up in the north, I spent 10 years as an operator, and I had a lot of overtime pay just associated with helping with snow removal. And so even though I'm an attorney and I could have been elsewhere doing other things, I enjoyed the work of being an operator, and I was able to be financially okay by having not only the operations role, but the opportunity to earn additional money. So what you see as a base salary, don't assume that it's going to be stagnant or that you're there forever, because again, the growth opportunities are so significant. And I do have an ask of all of you, and I like this image because this is what it feels like to be in the field. You're out there alone. It's pouring out. The cars are driving by. You can't figure out what's going on, and you could really use someone to throw you a lifeline. At an industry level, it also feels like we are approaching this point, and I'm so grateful, Samantha and Lisa, for you guys letting me have the opportunity to speak today, because we have to start to develop a true pipeline of getting young people engaged, excited about, and thinking about careers in this field. Through work with Jason and being at career fairs, talking to folks, the ideal time to start getting students to think about environmentalism and this industry, the sweet spot is kind of 6th to 9th grade, right? Because it connects with them. They understand generally about, some dynamics of water and the natural precipitation cycle and evaporation, condensation. But then they also, as they start to get a little bit older, start to see the potential of jobs in the field. And we need to get this message socialized now to build the workforce for tomorrow. Because again, in 5 years from now, if we don't have people that are coming in to replace all those retiring operators, your communities are going to start to see it. And 10 years from now, who knows where you'll be, but your kids will still be around, and their kids, they might start having kids, and you don't want to leave them in a bad situation. So here's my ask of all of you. Please promote this industry. Highlight how meaningful and wonderful and purposeful this job is. Bring it into your classroom. There are so many opportunities to talk about ecology, chemistry, data science, analytics, regulations, government efficiency, the structure of a mayor versus a water board. There are tons of ways to help use the water industry to help convey the concepts that you're trying to teach, right? And there's a lot of really good people, like I said, that would love to come and speak to your students, try to show them things. Field trips abound if you're ever interested. Just bring it in. Infrastructure generally is also a great way to show people in STEM fields, civics classes, trying to do problem solving, use existing infrastructure under their feet to localize and really drive home things and concepts like geometry and geography, right? Flow dynamics, civics with the government structure, right? The federal government gives regulations through the EPA. The EPA is administered at the state level by the Department of Environmental Services, who has a governor. At the local level, you have a mayor and a town council, right? These are great ways to bring all of this information and synthesize it together to help your students understand directly what you're talking about. And please, invite us to come speak. We'd love to come talk. Our Office of Rural Water, the apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship program, if there's opportunities to come and speak to students, maybe directly from operator in your local community, they'll come and talk to people about what they do and how they do it, gauge some interest. It used the folks at SC Competes, right? If you don't know about SC Competes, they're, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but they help businesses in South Carolina really get acquainted with the state, get into our economy, get into our spaces. And those local businesses can also be a way to bring water and utility work into the fold. And then I mentioned those two local companies, Delta Bravo and Blue Green Services. I've spoken with both of them. They would love to offer their AI tools as a sandbox to schools. If you want to have AI tool and capabilities and maybe show your students or set up a program where you could use AI capabilities in the classroom, have a conversation. Reach out to me. My contact is at the end of this presentation. Let's get these tools in the hands of students and let them play with it and see what they come up with, right? There's so much potential and such a need that if we all work together, if you guys help me in this ask, we can really lead from South Carolina out of what it looks like to have a pipeline, a workforce, and a thriving industry that is started at the grassroots level. And so with that, I think I hit about 45 minutes. That's pretty good. Love to take some questions and answers. And if you want to talk through anything, let's have a chat.
Brett, that was amazing. I thought I knew about the water industry, but I had no clue.
Thanks.
This was an excellent representation of career opportunities in the field, and tying it into AI was amazing.
Thank you.
Guys, do we have any questions? So Brett, it looks like we do not have any questions, but what we'll do is we will make sure that we get this recording up on our website, and we'll make sure we share this with our career specialists and counselors. We do have a couple other opportunities where we'll get you and Jason, of course, involved with some events that we're doing. Maybe in the spring, we'll do a field study and bring some educators out. I know last year